Welcome to the Gregory Nesmith Show, where we get personal about the news and the culture. Shout out to the underdogs, to my people, and the occasional Trump supporter that might accidentally find the show. You've made it to the right place, where we get into all that's going on, the unavoidable, the unjust, the uninhibited, the underrated. You get it by now, underdog stuff. And to take you on the journey every week, you have Gregory Nesmith, your host, founder of the UNderdogStuff company, also into spreading special stuff, an entrepreneur, and proud to be the host of the Gregory Nesmith Show, which this month turns 1 year old. 1 year old. First anniversary. Also, in a few minutes, to my left will be Asha Davis, the award-winning advertising executive, comedy writer, and proud Canadian who now lives in Harlem. And I live in Harlem too, but shout out to my hometown, the 215, the city of brotherly love, and shout out to some folks that have already started joining on the Facebook Live. I think I saw Nicole jump on in, and I will take a peek at some of the other folks that have jumped in. For those who want to talk to me, and I appreciate when you talk to me, it's like, bring the phone call back. It's old school. For any of my old school underdogs out there, if you want to talk to me and some of the other underdogs, you can call in at area code 212-650-6903. That's 212-650-6903. Or for those who like to let their fingers do the talking, you can go to facebook.com/Gregory Nesmith, GREGORYNESMITH, and you can watch and comment on the Facebook Live. Today's episode, double back and double down. Double back and double down. Because sometimes when life is happening in the moment, it's hard to catch everything that happens. I think that's why in sports, they have things called replays. If it's actually during the game, it's an instant replay. If it's after the game, folks watch the film, the tape. They look back to see what happened, what worked, what didn't. And I thought today it'd be a good time for us, as we go through the news and the culture this week, to take a double take and see whether or not we want to double down on what may be our original inclination or thoughts. I know when I think about my personal life, there's some times where I'm glad I doubled back and actually didn't end up doubling down. For example, I used to think all women were crazy. Crazy. Nothing but drama. Good news is I doubled back and actually chose not to double down on that, because when we go back to the tape, when we go back to the film, when we do the instant replay, what I realize is that oftentimes in my past, I was the one creating the environment for the drama or the craziness. There's an example of I doubled back, but actually chose not to double down. Also, for some of you who know me beyond just the Gregory Nesmith Show and know a little bit about my personal history, I used to think that I wasn't special enough. Now, I was a little kid. I was adopted in foster care for a little bit. And I made up this story about I'm not that special. I'm not that lovable. Which is natural for those who've been in the foster care system or adopted. You make up stories about, well, why didn't my parents who gave birth to me keep me? Was there something wrong with me? The good news is I doubled back. And the very good news is I chose not to double down on that. Because, first of all, my biological parents were at that time, and like most of us, were doing the best they could at the time. Wasn't their dream or wish to have things unfold the way they did. And I was raised by my wonderful parents, who are not only my parents, but I also call my angels. And the good news now is I double back to actually go find my birth parents and family and have the grateful to actually say that now I know all four of my parents and all four of my families. Again, another example of sometimes it's good for us as underdogs to double back. But be careful, because when you double back, you don't always want to double down. And so today, I'd love for us to go on a journey of doubling back to some familiar stories, and maybe, just maybe, we'll double down or not. Because a fresh perspective, a relook at the tape, a relook at the film, we may actually come back with a different conclusion. So today, I want to double back on, is the Republican Party really imploding or not? Love to get your thoughts. You going to double down on that or not? I want to double back on what's up with these NFL protests. It's been reported in the news lately that some people think the protests are hurting pizza sales. You sure you want to double back and double down on that? The tax cuts work. Feels like every time there's a Republican in office, Reagan, Bush again, Trump, they keep doubling down on tax cuts work. Let me know if you want to double down or not on that. And then, near the end of the show, we're going to double back on, was it a good idea to start the Gregory Nesmith Show? Because this month marks the 1-year anniversary of us getting personal about the news and the culture, talking the unlanguage, the unbelievable, the unavoidable, the underrated, the unjust, uninhibited. It didn't exist a year ago until November 8th, which then moved into November 9th because the show used to be on at midnight on Tuesday nights, which actually happened to be the night of the election. So we're going to get into it today. Today's episode, Double Back and Double Down, a second look at stuff with a fresh perspective. After this break, we're going to get personal about the news and the culture. And I want you to keep in mind for when we come back, is Donna Brazile trying to get into heaven? I'm asking for a friend. More of the Gregory Nesmith Show after this break. Welcome back to the Gregory Nesmith Show, where we get personal about the news and the culture. Today's episode, Double Back and Double Down. So, question for you underdogs out there, and if you want to join the conversation, you can call in at area code 212-650-6903. That's 212-650-6903, or you can comment on the Facebook Live at facebook.com/Gregory Nesmith. I want to double back and figure out if we're going to double down or not on, is the Republican Party, the GOP, the grand old party. Are they in trouble or not? Who's in more trouble? The Democrats or the Republicans? The Republicans or the Democrats? A lot of folks talking about how the Republican Party is imploding. Trump, which in and of himself feels like a implosion, who, by the way, is out of the country for a long time. I want to say for about 2 weeks, making a trip to Hawaii was his first stop, and then he'll be in Asia for the rest of the time. And obviously, we'll keep an eye out on him. Just as an aside, Underdogs, I was doing some research the other week and shocked to find out that only about a third of Americans have an active passport. So just as an aside, Underdogs, get your passport. Get out there and see the world. It's worth it. It gives you a different perspective. With that, though, a lot of folks think the Republican Party is imploding. Trump is like a walking implosion, walking nightmare. There's Russia. Man, earlier this week, Robert Mueller put out some charges against some people we know and some people that I don't even know who these people are. A dude with the last name Papadopoulos. Obviously someone that was more familiar to us, Paul Manafort, who was briefly, as Donald Trump would like to remind us, briefly the campaign manager for his run for president. So you got Russia going on. Then there's talk of the Republicans have a civil war going on, which is a bit of a dramatic analogy, but you get what they mean. Figuratively, not literally. They can't pass a repeal and replace. Been trying to do that for 7 years. They finally get a chance now where they have control of the Senate, control of the House of Representatives, control of the executive branch, and potentially even slight control of the judicial branch by getting Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. And they couldn't pass that. Might not even be able to pass taxes either. They're imploding, right? It's all come crumbling down. Matter of fact, Donald Trump, before he was about to hop on a plane to head to his trip to Asia, the press was throwing some questions at him. And he had a few comments about Russia and about collusion and politics. Let's play that clip, and then we'll come back and keep discussing. Do you want to double back and double down on the Republican Party is in more trouble than the Democratic Party?
That tax reform will protect low-income and middle-income.
All I can tell you is this. There was no collusion. There was no nothing. It's a disgrace, frankly, that they continue. You want to look at Hillary Clinton, and you want to look at the new book that was just put out by Donna Brazile, where she basically bought the DNC and she stole the election from Bernie. So that's what you want to take a look at.
What's the military doing that's different?
What we're doing is every time
what? He just, hold up. They asked him about Russia. People talking about the Republican Party's imploding. And he just mentioned something about one of my childhood heroes, Donna Brazile. Look into what? That she did with who? At the where? You know, growing up, I somewhat suppressed it, but always kind of knew that I had an interest in politics. An interest in, even greater than politics, attempting to make a difference in the community. And when I was younger, politicians, to me, were folks who were in the space of having at least the opportunity to do better for, or make things better for the community. Whether or not they did that all the time is obviously debatable. But as a young kid, I saw politicians as one of the potential avenues I could go to make a difference in the community. And I remember when I would watch the network news or some of the Sunday political shows like Meet the Press and Face the Nation, or watch PBS when they would do some of their talks about politics, there were two people that I looked up to. two black African Americans that I looked up to. Gwen Ifill, rest in peace, who recently, before she passed away, was the host of Washington Week on PBS. And also, some of you may have seen her at times when she would be the moderator for some of the presidential elections. Looked up to her. Man, classy, intelligent, knew what she was doing, well respected. And then also, in addition to Gwen Ifill, Donna Brazile, because it was rare to see someone who looked like me on these major networks giving their opinion, letting us know what was going on in the world. And I'm like, man, Donna Brazile, Gwen Ifill, legends, inspirations. I looked up to them. And so, this is tough because Donna's in the news this week. And someone who I looked up to and still respect what she's done and the barriers that she overcame. But she's in the news because it's reported that she's coming out with a book. And the book is called Hacks. You know, it's never good when your book title starts off with the word hacks. But it's called Hacks, the inside story of the break-ins and breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. And Donna has started to give a sneak peek to the book, done some interviews, starting to let folks know what the deal is. And she's basically accusing that the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, was rigged in Clinton's favor because her campaign was largely financing the Democratic Party early on in the presidential election. Say it ain't so. We doubling back. Let me know if you're going to double down. I'm trying to figure out which party is really in more trouble. Is it the Republican Party or the Democratic Party? I thought Trump was a walking implosion. I thought the Russia thing was starting to heat up. They can't pass repeal and replace. They're probably going to have trouble with this tax plan, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. And now all of a sudden, is it the Democrats that are really the party that's struggling? It's never good when all of a sudden folks from the other side of the aisle start coming out and feeling emboldened and feeling confident and feeling a little bit like they winning. Here's Rush Limbaugh, known as someone more on the right side of things in terms of his politics, known as a conservative, known as a Republican. This is him talking about Donna's new book.
I have a better name for Donna Brazile's book. The title of her book is Hacks. I think the better title would be What Really Happened. Hillary's book is called What Happened. Donna Brazile's book, What Really Happened. But I mean, the lead here in this chapter, when I was asked to run the Democrat Party after the Russians hacked our emails, I stumbled onto a shocking truth about the Clinton campaign. I mean, gee whiz. You know, the rats are scurrying. The rats are scurrying all over that part.
Well, not good when even Rush Limbaugh seems to be smiling and giggling about what's going on with the Democratic Party. So let's dig into this a little bit more. What happened in the news this week was that Donna Brazile admitted that Hillary Clinton's campaign gained significant control over the DNC, its finances, and strategy in exchange for helping the party wipe out 2012 presidential campaign debt. And the article from Fox News goes on to say, in layman terms, that means that the party rigged the primary for Clinton to defeat Bernie Sanders through shady financial deals, which would typically be major news. Say it ain't so. Now, of course, our Twitter-in-chief couldn't pass up the moment to chime in on this. And he had a series of tweets a few days ago about this new revelation that my childhood hero, Donna Brazile, spilling the beans about the DNC and the election. Hillary Clinton wrote a book called What Happened. Donna's book probably should have been called What Really Happened? Maybe. So Trump, in his normal Trumpian style, tweets, everybody is asking why the Justice Department and FBI isn't looking into all of the dishonesty going on with Crooked Hillary and the Dems. New Donna B book. You know, sometimes I'm like, we really do need more than 140 characters because Donald Trump's writing Donna B like she's a hip-hop artist. Donna B book says she paid for and stole the Dem primary. What about the deleted emails, uranium, Podesta, the server, plus? People are angry. At some point, the Justice Department and the FBI must do what's right and proper. The American public deserves it. The real story of collusion is in Donna B's new book. Crooked Hillary bought the DNC and then stole the Democratic Party from crazy Bernie. My childhood hero. Caught up in a little bit of he said, she said. You know, today's episode is double back and double down. You see, I've been hearing, especially in my circle, which I think likely leans a little bit more left than right, that the Republican Party's in trouble. Trump is a disgrace. He's unhinged. We're going to impeach him. The Republicans can't do anything right. Democrat Party is getting momentum. You agree? Which party is really the party in trouble? Because like I said earlier, oftentimes it's good to double back. Because as I started at the show earlier, there were things that I thought about the world or about myself, like all women are crazy, or that I'm not special because I was given up for adoption. All things that weren't true, but they only became untrue to me because I doubled back, took a fresh perspective, and figured out whether I needed to double down or not. And so I keep hearing a lot of people tell me that the Democratic Party is good. Republican Party's bad, imploding, in shambles. Things aren't working. And now this thing happens with Donna B, as the Twitter-in-chief calls her on Twitter. So cool, got it. Whenever we double back, it's always important to check the source, right? If you wanted to get perspective on how something happened in your past, you likely wouldn't go and inquire with people who you see as haters, or people who don't have your best interests in mind, or people that normally don't side with you. You may not think they could be objective. And so I hear you. You're thinking, well, Gregory, you done played a clip from Rush Limbaugh. You've been reading tweets from Donald Trump. Of course they think Donna Brazile is right because it creates drama and creates a potential implosion inside the Democratic Party. Well, how about we check in on what some of the Democrats are saying about the Democratic Party and Donna Brazile's new revelations? How about we play a clip from a Democrat, not Bernie, who is an independent who ran inside the Democratic Party, but how about we go get an actual Democrat, an actual well-known Democrat, someone who might even be running for president in 2020. Let's double back and see if this person, Elizabeth Warren, wants to double down or not, at least in reference to Donna Brazile's new revelations that the DNC wasn't as impartial as it likely should have been when it came to the 2016 election. Here is Elizabeth Warren talking about whether or not the DNC rigged the election, rigged the primary in favor of Hillary Clinton over all the other folks that were running.
Do you think, though, that what we're learning from Donna Brazile's book suggests that the campaign, that what the Democratic National Committee did, meant this election was rigged?
I think it was.
It's a pretty powerful charge.
Well, what we have to focus on now as Democrats
is we recognize the process was rigged. And now it is up to Democrats to build a new process, a process that really works and works for everyone. And that as we go forward, we have confidence in the integrity of the system, that Democrats, as they run a primary, are going to let the people speak, and that we're going to have a candidate who's the candidate chosen by the people. That's our job.
Did Elizabeth Warren just say the word rigged? It's one thing when Rush Limbaugh says it. It's one thing when the Twitter-in-chief says it. It's another thing when an actual Democrat, and I believe a Democrat that is at least somewhat well-respected, not seen as some radical, says the words on tape on PBS. I believe she said the same thing on an interview with CNN. Rigged. You sure when you double back about which party's in more trouble, the Republicans or the Democrats, and everybody keeps saying the Republicans, you sure about that? And by the way, is Donna Brazile trying to get into heaven? I'm asking for a friend. Interesting timing and accusations of how she sees that things went down. And just to give a little bit more detail, for those who may not know specifically all of Donna's background, I'll give you some of her recent history, which is Donna Brazile took over as the interim party chairman in July of 2016 when the DNC was plagued by an email scandal, and Rep. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Democrat from Florida, was ousted as the DNC chair on the eve of the party's 2016 convention. Then Brazile, who resigned from her role as a CNN contributor after she was accused of leaking questions to Clinton ahead of the CNN town hall event, as reported by The Hill, Donna may not exactly have the nicest things to say about her DNC predecessor in her book. You know, I almost forgot about that. Donna was in the news for having some of her own issues, leaking questions to the Hillary campaign ahead of a debate. By the way, I'm not sure if this whole thing was rigged or not. Well, I take that back. I do have a perspective. I do think while it may not have been an illegal move, it definitely was a political move by the DNC to favor the place and the person that was giving them the money, which was the Hillary Clinton campaign. Donna goes on to say, Debbie was not a good manager. She hadn't been very interested in controlling the party. She let Clinton's headquarters in Brooklyn, shout out to Brooklyn, do as it desired, so she didn't have to inform the party officers how bad the situation was. Obama left the party with $24 million in debt, $15 million in the bank debt, and more than $8 million owed to vendors after the 2012 campaign, and had been paying that off very slowly. So here comes Hillary Clinton's campaign, the entitled one, Miss Clinton, with some money and some influence. And it may not have been illegal, but it definitely was political, and it definitely was siding with her. Let me know what you think. Area code 212-650-6903 or on the Facebook Live, facebook.com/Gregory Nesmith. Today's episode is Double Back and Double Down. Everyone's been saying the Republican Party is in worse trouble than the Democratic Party. I want to double back on that. I get it. Trump is unhinged. Mueller filed some charges with his special counsel looking into the Russia collusion thing. The Republicans haven't been able to repeal and replace Obamacare. I get it. It feels like they're the party that's in trouble. But now we're finding out that the Democratic Party, or at least the DNC, was potentially unfavorable or at least biased towards Clinton. And that could have influenced the primaries, that Bernie Sanders couldn't win. And then I call the other people who ran the milk carton boys, because most people can't name Martin O'Malley, Webb, some of the other folks that ran, I call them the milk carton boys because nobody knows who the other people were even running in the Democratic primary except for Bernie Sanders. So now, my final thoughts on this. I don't know if Donna's trying to get into heaven or not, but I do get the sense that she's at least trying to make sure that as her days in public office start to count down, that she at least goes on the record with her thoughts on what was really going on behind the scenes, at least from her vantage point. And maybe, just maybe, it's her last chance to say what really happened, at least from her perspective. Just want to read a couple of Facebook Live comments. I posted the other night, is Donna Brazile trying to get into heaven, asking for a friend? And a few folks wrote, Helen wrote, think she is aiming for a very long time in purgatory. Just a thought. Well, that's one thing. Danny wrote, she's going for the big R, meaning she's doing something for the Republicans by spilling these beans. Darryl wrote, I don't know what she's doing. I said, I'm not sure either. And I had another friend, Sean, say very disappointing. And I can definitely relate to the very disappointing piece because, like I said earlier, Donna Brazile, one of my childhood heroes, someone I looked up to. And, you know, I'm just hopeful that whatever she's saying is true. And then at the same token, if it is true, it's disappointing. It's not surprising, but it is disappointing. So then I close with doubling back. Are you doubling down or not that the Republican Party is in more trouble than the Democratic Party? I actually think the answer is, upon further review, the Democratic Party is the party in more trouble right now. If you look at Democratic losses from 2009 to the start of this year, 2017, if you just look at the House, the Senate, and the governor's races that have happened between 2009 and now, so basically the past 8 years. In the House of Representatives, Democrats have lost 70 seats. In the Senate, 11 seats out of 100, 11 seats. In governor's races, lost 10 since 2009. Down 70, down 11 in the Senate, down 10 in the governors, and down 1 in the White House. See, sometimes it's good to double back because we're less emotional when we look back as opposed to when we're in the moment. Because in the moment, it can feel like the Republican Party is imploding and in more trouble than the Democrats. But when you take a step back and you look back, and Donna Brazile helps us look back and seeing that maybe the primaries weren't so fair and square, then we would take a step and look back at some of the data, some of the numbers. I don't know, a party that's lost 70 seats in the House of Representatives, 11 seats in the Senate, 10 governorships, and 1 White House since 2009, that, to me, would seem like the party that's in more trouble. With that, let me know your thoughts. Area code 212-650-6903. That's area code 212-650-6903. And taking your online comments on Facebook.com/Gregory Nesmith, GREGORYNESMITH. And for those who've been watching on the Facebook Live, you may have noticed that there's something on my right hand. Turns out that I fractured a bone in my pinky playing basketball, so I now have the official splint on from the doctor, and I'll get a little surgery on it and hopefully be back at it in a few months. So you'll be seeing something on my right hand for at least the rest of 2017, unfortunately. So I'm disappointed that I'm not going to get to play some basketball until the start of the new year. But it's not stopping me from doing what we do here every week, and that's get personal about the news and the culture. Shout out to the underdogs, my people, and the occasional Trump supporter that accidentally finds the show. Appreciate you. With that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to double back and figure out whether you want to double down or not on Could pizza really be hurt by protest? Really? You sure about that? More of the Gregory Nesmith Show after this break.
Fresh Boys on the track.
Welcome back to the Gregory Nesmith Show, where we get personal about the news and the culture. Today's episode, double back and double down. Or no, sometimes we double back to get perspective, which is good. Because in the moment, I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes I'm caught up in my feelings. Sometimes I just am in new first-time situations. And it's hard for me to process what's happening. And so often, it's good for me to double back and then figure out whether or not I want to double down on whatever perspectives, thoughts, feelings I had about those past situations. I talked about earlier that one of my more infamous perspectives on life was that all women are crazy. Women create nothing but drama. Good news is I double back, and doubling back realized that I was the one who was causing the drama, and I was the one who was making things work out the way they did. And speaking of women, but not speaking of drama, Asha Davis has just walked into the building, and I want to let her in to the studio because right now the door is locked and she's looking at me while I'm looking at her, and I'm like, I want to get her into the studio. And luckily, Stan, the man, has walked by, and I thought Stan was going to let her in, but he didn't. So let's let Asha jump into this conversation and then more of the Gregory Nesmith Show in one quick second. He's not gonna let her in. that, so I put that on YouTube. Because remember there's a delay. So you can't, so that, now all of a sudden I just literally upload that to YouTube without, you have to edit it, and use copyright free music. Yeah. But yeah, you should use it. And I literally just put the top behind the scenes and put whatever you need to put. And then I actually can use the audio too. Because the audio is already recorded from the Facebook Live. So then I don't have to worry about archiving anything. So now it does two things. People can watch and you have your audio. You just cut the URL. Remember, you copy paste the URL, download it, and then you convert it to an MP3 file. Where was I? What was I saying to them?
Did you get 2 calls?
Huh?
You got calls?
No. I was saying something. No, this is no.
Okay, we're at Donna. You're at Donna.
We're done, Donna.
Oh.
There was a Donna comment, so you can maybe say something about. And I just need to finish up a story I was telling. Welcome back to the Gregory Nesmith Show. For those who were watching, this is the cool thing about live radio, that things happen. And we roll with it because life happens live. And for those of you who were watching along and noticed that I didn't turn my mic off, you heard the whole story about how to do Facebook Live and how we make that happen. For those who were listening, yes, there's a YouTube channel for the Gregory Nesmith Show. So type in the Gregory Nesmith Show and search on YouTube and you'll be able to see videos, replays of the show. And guess who just checked into the building?
Hi. Thank you, New York City subway system.
Well, you know, it's hectic out here. The MTA, as soon as a drop of rain happens.
Oh, gosh. But you know what? I'm here for hour 2.
Yes, you are.
I'm happy to be here. Asha Davis.
Yes, Asha Davis.
Yeah.
Award-winning advertising executive.
Yeah.
Comedy writer.
Something like that.
Paid stand-up comic.
Yes.
Irate against the MTA.
But I need them because when you go to LA and they don't have it, you realize why you love New York.
Yes, indeed. And proud Canadian.
Torontonian.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome. And today's episode is double back and double down.
Double back, double down.
Or nah.
Or nah.
Yeah, because sometimes you double back and then you end up thinking you're going to double down. You get some new information. You're like, well, now that I think about it, I see things totally different.
Do you ever double Dutch?
When I was younger.
All right.
Yeah. Do you ever double Dutch?
All the time.
Well, it depends on what Dutches you're doubling.
Back to the story.
See, I'm quick. I listen. I listen very carefully to what people say. And, you know, there's a lot of uses and meanings for the word Dutch. So I was just checking. Now, double back, double down. As I was saying, that we end up doubling back and doubling down. First of all, shout out to Nicole, who I believe wrote a Facebook Live message saying that maybe Donna Brazile was trying to get to them before they get to her.
Which kind of makes sense, actually, if you really step back and think about it, because she's not denying the whole handing Hillary questions during the debate fiasco.
No. But as I was telling folks earlier, Donna, along with Gwen Ifill, was one of my childhood heroes. To see somebody that looked like me on these big stages on the Sunday shows and being interviewed about what was going on in the world of politics, trying to make a difference for people, I'm like, Donna's the woman. Mm-hmm. And then you double back and you find out that she's also, like a lot of these folks, partisan. She leans a certain way. Mm-hmm. So her perspective, which I thought was always objective, now I come to find out, leaned a little bit towards the left.
Yeah, and actually Nicole, listening in real time, the beauty of Facebook Live, has actually responded to what you're saying. And she's also saying, Donna's usually very low-key and pretty loyal, so this seems like kind of bizarre behavior for her.
I don't know whether somebody stopped paying her, started paying her, whether she's trying to make up for giving out those questions before the debate. I'm not sure, but I tend to think that there's some truth to what she's saying.
I agree.
That's just my thought. As I double back, I'm willing to double down on Donna's probably more right than wrong. And I'm also, as I double back, not doubling down on the fact that the Republican Party is in worse shape than the Democratic Party. I think actually, upon further review, the Democratic Party is actually in worse shape than the Republican Party.
I disagree with that.
Who has the majority in the House of Representatives?
The Republican Party.
Who has the majority in the Senate?
The Republican Party.
Who, for the most part, has the tie or somewhat lead in the judicial branch on the Supreme Court?
The Republican Party.
Who has the lead in the executive branch?
The Republican Party.
Who had their fingers on the scale tipping things towards their candidate, Hillary Clinton?
Okay, I get that. I don't want to say their name anymore, but I feel like people get the point.
So you're doubling back and doubling down?
I think that the Republican Party is in worse shape because they're made up of people that are not representative of the views of the collective of society. They're made up of the views of a small amount of primarily Caucasian, wealthy, male people that is not the predominant mindset of the American public and of society at large. And I think if you looked at it from a macro standpoint, they're in a worse shape because this is the hopeful part of me, hoping that hopeful part of me, hoping that goodness will prevail at some point. This is the same way that someone could say in 1943, the Nazi Party was the party that had the best advantage, which, in the short term they did, but in the long term they were not. And I would not want to be on their side of history.
First of all,
Mic check, mic check.
Keep it locked on WHCR 90.3 FM. Okay. New York.
Second of all, shout out to WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. For all those listening far and wide, we appreciate you. Unlike the 40s reference you make, some of these things are happening by people voting. So losing governor races, like those are fair and square. Those are majority of people speaking a certain way for governors.
People voted for Hitler.
I'm just saying that it's not as clear cut as when you lose at the House of Representatives level and the governor's race level. Those are local races where the Republican Party is winning. And
they are being won a large part due to gerrymandering and rigging things.
Well, the governor's race has no gerrymandering. That's just majority of people saying we want a Republican.
Okay, because the people that have money want Republicans because Republicans cut taxes for wealthy people. And that's what they're known for, right?
Well, the people who have money also were for Hillary Clinton and the DNC.
We're going to agree to disagree on that one. I know you want to move on. I know I showed up late to the party, so it's fine. But I'm not going to agree with you on that.
I wanted to have you and Nicole jump in on is Donna Brazile trying to get into heaven or not? And is the Democratic Party really in better shape than the Republican Party?
Nicole wants to know if you think that Donna's going to change parties.
No, Donna, well, she may become an independent. So, yes. So, you know what? Maybe she will. Shout out to Donna, though. I think when I look at the double back of it all, I don't know if there was anything done illegal, but there were definitely some political moves and some I'm gonna look out for my people's moves, and it feels a little shady to me.
Whatever it is, this is definitely a double cross, if you ask me.
Oh, who's double crossing who?
I think that people in the Democratic Party are double crossing each other.
Well, did you hear Elizabeth Warren, though, say it was rigged?
During that interview, that was quite compelling. I was not expecting that.
See? Did you heard the clip?
That was pretty crazy.
All I'm saying is, I said, I know Trump's going to say one thing. I know Rush Limbaugh's going to say one thing, but that's Elizabeth, not some random person in politics.
She radically changed a lot of people's point of view on this with just one simple word.
She didn't stutter. She didn't no, I didn't mean it that way. She hasn't taken the statement back.
She didn't say I think so. She didn't say maybe. She said YES period.
So now you see why I'm saying that the Democratic Party might be in more trouble than the Republican Party.
Anybody that has Donald Trump repping them, anybody that's defending him is not in a good position at all.
All right, so let me say it this way then. I can agree with you that the Democratic Party seems to be on the right side of history in terms of some of its policies and positions.
Yes.
But I think what this all highlights to me is the Democratic Party may be in worse shape than we always outwardly or overtly talk about because losing isn't good. They haven't figured out a way to sell their right way of thinking. So if nothing else, they're in worse shape than I think we often let on.
How about this? American politics is in horrible shape. Both parties are fighting with internally, right? Republicans are fighting. There's Trump Republicans, and then there's other Republicans, right?
The others.
Others. Trump and then others. And
Trump
then
and McCain.
And then you have the Democratic Party, where you've got diehard Hillary fanatics, and then you've got others, whether they're Bernie Sanders or somebody else, Elizabeth Warren.
Just because you like Hillary, don't be calling the other ones others.
I'm going to call them either your Team Hillary, die hard, there was no wrongdoing, or your others. Okay?
Shout out to all.
Every party has infighting is all I'm saying. I'm not going to agree that Republicans are better.
I know, but I got to stand up for the others that feel like they're progressive wing of the party. They have a name. And some people call them Bernie or bust people, but they're the progressives.
Those are the people that, yes, voted other in the presidential election.
No, most of Bernie's supporters that did end up voting for Hillary.
In the end.
Yeah.
But 70,000 of them maybe didn't. Sorry, let's keep going. What
All
other
right.
stories do we have?
Yes. I just wanted to make sure that you and Nicole were able.
I'm not American and I didn't vote, so who am I to talk?
I mean, we can all talk. I talk about other people's elections in other places. Just because I like to follow the news.
Okay.
All right, and I wanted to make sure that you and Nicole got to say what you wanted to say about Donna.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to Donna Brazile.
Shout out.
She's got receipts.
Mm-hmm.
All right, doubling back.
Mm-hmm.
Protests leading to hurting the bottom line in the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's been reported that protests are now hurting pizza sales.
Mm-hmm. Papa John's.
Papa John's, the official sponsor of the NFL, or official pizza sponsor. I mean, there's other people that sponsor the NFL.
Yeah.
Papa John's says the anthem protests are hurting their deal with the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Papa John's came out and said this week that the negative perceptions of the NFL since players started refusing to stand for the national anthem to protest racial inequality have hurt the company's sales.
Everybody wants to blame black people.
Yep, the protesters blaming them.
Everybody wants to blame black people.
Now, their CEO goes on to say this. The NFL has hurt us by not resolving the current debacle. Some strong words there. We are disappointed the NFL and its leadership did not resolve this.
Mm-hmm.
Just mad. Saying that a protest. I to be honest, I don't remember anybody saying that they were going to stop buying pizza because of protests.
I do. People said that part of the boycotting of the NFL was also to boycott lead sponsors of the NFL and not to purchase their products. So put your money where your mouth is.
Well,
so protest with your wallet. This was also a part of it.
Well, Papa John's seems to think that it's working, that the protest is happening and it's hurting their business.
I wouldn't be surprised that it is.
And Pizza Hut said, business has been good for us.
Yeah, I think that instead of blaming black people, Papa John should be like, hey, Papa John's, we care about the community, versus trying to say that their business is suffering because they're a lead sponsor of the NFL.
Well, they do care about the community. It just matters what part of the community they care about.
And who in the community?
Well, it's been reported that some of the alt-right folks are starting to get behind Papa John's to help them out.
Yeah, it's gonna be named Pepe the Frog Papa John's.
What?
Because that's the mascot of the alt-right party is Pepe the Frog.
It is?
Yeah, that frog guy.
Oh.
You don't...
Better frogs and better ingredients?
Basically.
That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of... Well, first of all, are you going to double down on that? Do you think that the protests are actually hurting Papa John's pizza sales?
I think that people are protesting with their wallet, and as such, they are, as a result of them not watching the NFL and as a result of people not wanting to support businesses that continue to support the NFL, I don't believe that it's unfathomable that their association with the league has resulted in lack of sales. However, for anybody that's tasted Papa John's pizza, you might also know that it's disgusting. So it's not the best tasting pizza in the world, just as a FYI.
I will say, though, as I doubled back, a couple things stuck out to me. during the earnings report, it actually said that Papa John's beat its estimates on earnings and revenue. So that would mean that up until now, at least when it reported results, it still was doing business as planned. It's speculating that future sales, it believes, will be hurt by this protest, which is a little odd. So it's forecasting that it will be hurt by a protest that's been going on for over a year. I'm just saying.
Right.
And then secondly, you know who's been one of the more adamant owners about the protest? Which owner do you think? Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
And do you think Jerry Jones likes pizza?
I would think that he does, yeah.
He likes pizza so much. You know how they say put your money where your mouth is?
Yes.
It's reported that he owns over 100 Papa John's.
He owns 40-something% of the company, actually.
So, as I was telling the underdogs earlier, sometimes it's good for us to double back because we get new information. We get a better perspective. And guess what? For one, their results have been meeting expectations for the past year and at least the past quarter. And for two, maybe it's just somebody coming out and siding with their buddy who also owns a large stake in their company.
Or maybe it's people protesting the NFL who decided that because the NFL is operating in collusion to not give Colin Kaepernick a job simply because he's fighting for the rights of people of color, that companies that outwardly support the NFL are seeing financial results of this. And maybe this will make, some sort of a difference.
Hold on, did you say collusion?
Collusion, because that's what Colin Kaepernick is suing the NFL for.
Did you see the news? Now you got me off topic, but it's on topic, but it's off topic.
About what?
That some of the owners have been required to turn over some receipts.
Some of the owners have been subpoenaed to turn over their text messages, their emails, and communications in regards to a concerted effort by owners in the NFL to not give Mr. Kaepernick a job.
Yes, indeed. I love it when you hear the phrase that it's been reported to be that they are disposed and asked to turn over all cell phone records and emails in relation to Colin Kaepernick's case against the NFL.
And why we would like them to be thrown out and disposed of, they've been deposed.
Yes. See, it's fine. It's good to have an English major.
Just a quick...
Because I don't know if I would have been able to do that.
Just a quick correction.
Hey, I was just reading what they quoted.
Yeah, it says deposed. You just said disposed.
I said disposed. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Don't discredit the publication.
Yes. No, I didn't mean disposed.
Yeah, I know you didn't. That's why I wanted to make sure our listeners knew that as well.
Yes. Deposed.
Yes.
Don't dispose it. Well, hopefully they won't dispose of any of their records.
And if they do, we'll be able to find out.
Yes, they will. So, upon further review, I actually think that it's possible that the protests will hurt pizza sales, but so far they haven't. And I also think it's somebody sticking up for one of his boys who, come to find out, Jerry Jones has a large stake in the same company.
And once again, we disagree. That's okay.
Well, you know what we agree about?
That Papa John's gross pizza?
Well, that we're excited about those owners having to turn over their records.
Yeah.
That piece is exciting. We will keep an eye out for it.
But Papa John's is gross. Just FYI.
I've eaten Papa John's before.
It's too wet and oily, and the crust falls apart. It's gross. It doesn't taste good. It's not good pizza. I'd rather order Pizza Hut.
Too wet?
Yeah, it's wet. The grease, when you order it, the grease seeps through the crust. It's not a solid, delicious pizza.
We're gonna take a quick break.
This is New York City. I'm a pizza connoisseur.
We might have to add that to the bio. We'll have to think about that. I have to see what some of your pizza recommendations are. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna do a new segment.
Yeah.
That is called Like or Unlike.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes, we're gonna have a little fun of some of the stories going on in the news and the culture that we'll figure out whether we should like them or unlike them. Mm-hmm. Today's episode, Double Back and Double Down. More of the Gregory Nesmith Show after this break.
Fresh boys on the track.
Welcome back to the Gregory Nesmith Show. Shout out to the underdogs, to my people, and the occasional Trump supporter that accidentally finds the show. We appreciate you. You made it to the right place if you want to get personal about the news and the culture. And I have a feeling some of those Trump supporters are probably happy about one of our earlier news stories, unfortunately. But we march on. And let us know your thoughts on whether or not you believe that protests can actually impact pizza sales. But now, on to our new segment called Like or Unlike, because we like using some of the unwords. And oftentimes, I don't know about you, but I'm on my social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, and stuff comes through the feed. Mm-hmm. And I often wonder, are people having the same reaction I have, whether it's like something you see it, you're going to like it? Mm-hmm. Are you going to get out the popcorn and really dive in, share it, do a whole bunch of stuff with it, or are you just going to block it or block it out?
Okay.
Right? What are you going to do? You see a headline come across and then what?
Yeah.
So the first one.
Yeah.
If you were scrolling through your timeline and you saw this post, Joe Biden hasn't ruled out 2020. I'm not going to decide not to run.
I think I'm going to get out the popcorn and watch what happens with that one.
What?
Yeah.
You're going to get out the popcorn?
I'm going to get out the popcorn and watch what happens with that one. That's me.
Joe Biden. So, you know, he's done this before,
mm-hmm.
just so folks know.
I do know that he's done this before.
Let's play a little clip of Joe talking in December of last year, right after the election, about his stance on whether or not he's running or going to run in 2020. Mm-hmm.
Your comments this week, whether you were joking or not, have prompted a lot of questions about whether or not you actually might run for president in 2020. I know you said you were joking, but you are experienced enough to know you never say never. You told Stephen Colbert that in 2020 you'll be 78, but Donald Trump will be 74. So age isn't going to be an issue, I suppose.
Well, look, age could be very much an issue, and it may not be. It depends on the state of my health and the health of whomever is running. But look, as you know, Jake, 4 years is a lifetime in American politics. And I think that nominees are determined by their parties based mostly on what skill set is most needed at that time. And
that's Joe.
That's Joe.
And he said the key phrase to me, 4 years is a long time.
It is, unfortunately.
So I'm going to keep it moving on this one.
So you're going to block it?
Yeah, I'm going to block it out. Like, it's Joe Biden talking about whether he's running, whether he's not. He's going to be 78. I
took block as in, like, I'm not messing with that at all. So anything that's block has anything to do with Trump trying to make any plans. So for me, I'll sit on the sidelines and Netflix and chill with some popcorn and see what Big Joe's going to have to do. I don't have any problem with him. Yeah, Big Joe.
Yeah, I'm blocking it out because I'm just like,
hey, wow, we're in a lot of disagreements today, man. Wow.
I'm just saying.
I don't think we've ever disagreed this much on one show. It's only a half a show.
It's Joe. I'm a Joe. I think he'd be a good candidate, but as of right now, I'm blocking Joe out right now.
Right.
It's too early.
All
right. Second, if you see this post, surprise, new survey reveals a wide gulf between millennial whites and millennials of color on race.
Can we add a fourth one in here called no kidding? Because
you never follow the rules.
I don't like this, and I don't want to dig any deeper.
You don't want to like it.
It's just obvious, and I can't block it out because it's so true.
Well, you could block it out because you're like, I knew that already.
I knew that already, but I can't ignore it because I have to deal with what those differences are in my day-to-day life in order to operate in corporate America. You have to be aware and cognizant in order to deal.
For me, actually, this one, I'm going to actually get out my popcorn.
And watch.
Well, the reason why I want to dig into this one a little one, because I often hear people say millennials are different than Generation X and the boomers. They're more diverse. They see the world differently. So to me, I see a headline saying that there's a gulf between them. I'm actually a little bit shocked because the sentiment seems to be that millennials see the world in such a different way than anyone older than them, being also around supposedly more open to diversity.
Yeah, I think it depends. You know, millennials, we're both marketers, so that's just like a overused word in our industry. And just for people that don't work in this industry, a millennial is pretty much anybody born between the years of 1980 to about the year between sort of like around the year 2000, right? And so basically there's a 20-year age gap between these people. So there's a huge difference between a millennial that is, you know, born in 1980 than somebody that's 17 years old, right? And so I think that people are diverse across a huge a big variety of different things, but I think the differences between the life experiences that people of color versus non-people of color go through in a modern society are quite different, and they do shape how you move through the world, you know?
No, I think that's fair, and I think for me, I'd want to click on it and get a little bit more information. So I'd get out my popcorn.
All right.
Just to see what the deal is.
All right.
All right. The next story for Like or Unlike. Sometimes in our feeds, we actually get a video, right? Like something's playing and you're like, watch a little bit of it, and then you have a certain reaction.
Okay.
So I'm going to play, if this showed up in your timeline, are you going to like it, get out your popcorn, or block it out?
Okay.
We're working to give the American people a giant tax cut for Christmas. We are giving them a big, beautiful Christmas present in the form of a tremendous tax cut. It will be the biggest cut in the history of our country. It'll also be tax reform, and it'll create jobs. Today, the House Ways and Means Committee unveiled a historic tax reform bill that will create tremendous prosperity for our nation. We will provide a massive tax cut for American families. We will make the tax code simpler and fair. It's called simplification. We will restore our competitive edge by reducing business taxes for the first time in more than 30 years. And we will bring back trillions and trillions of dollars that's now parked overseas so that money can be put to work rebuilding the United States of America as opposed to rebuilding other parts of the world.
That just showed up in your timelines, underdogs, my people. Asha Davis, you liking it? You getting out your popcorn? You blocking it out?
I'm gonna go ahead and block that out right now, man.
You don't want a Christmas gift from the president?
I don't want nothing from this man. I don't want nothing. I really just want whatever employee from Twitter disabled his account. That was my Christmas present. Let's make that person the CEO of Twitter.
But did you not know that when you simplify something, that's simplification?
You know, as an English major, I did not know that. So thank you for enlightening me.
No, it wasn't me. That was Donna.
I heard you. I know who it was.
So you blocking it out?
I'm blocking that all the way out. You know, he could keep that, because especially what he calls a huge tax break is $1,000, and he's cutting people's ability to deduct things like medical costs on their taxes. So I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, this one is I'm blocking this one out.
Okay. Wow, we finally agreed. Air high five. Air high five, because we can't do the clap on the mics.
Why not?
Because it'll too loud in people's ears.
Oh, well, no, because they were away from the mic.
Well, air high five.
Yeah, but if we did it in front of the mic, that'd be different.
Okay, well, we high fived.
The athlete in me just is disappointed that we didn't actually high five.
We're not going to high five. The OCD in you is disappointed, actually, not the athlete. Anyways, Trump's tax plan.
Yes. So I'm blocking it out because every Republican president wants to do a tax cut.
Yeah.
Reagan, Bush, then Bush again, now Trump.
Yeah.
And then they always make us think that by cutting the taxes on those who make a lot of money or on corporations that somehow everybody will win.
Mm-hmm. Trickle-down economics, I believe.
Yes, that was the term. So no, I'm blocking this out. Now, one quick aside, though. The tax plan, from what I understand, actually is like, doesn't help. It's like, it's weird. It cuts taxes for corporations. Then there's a provision that'll take the tax rate up to like 46% for those who are very wealthy. Then it makes tax cuts for some of the middle class. But then if you live in states where there's high property taxes, you can't deduct stuff. It's like, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm going to block it out because the way it sounds, it's not passing anyway.
And they're trying to make your taxes so simple. You could do it on a postcard.
And you know what that's called?
Hardification?
No, Donald Trump, simplification.
No, I know.
No, I know you. I know you know. I'm just saying. All right, ready for our next story? All right, you're reading your timeline, and all of a sudden this title comes up. Social media user defend TV anchor after woman says she looks ridiculous because of her size.
I'm going to go ahead and like this all the way. Have you seen what she looks like? She is beautiful. Have you seen this woman? Did you look at the picture?
Let's just say I got my popcorn out.
She is stunning. That woman is gorgeous.
Yes, we're talking about Demetria Abalor. I believe is her name.
I'm gonna go ahead and call her D for short. But yes, Miss D.
Yes. So just so folks know, if they haven't heard about this story, Jan, who is a viewer of the station, said she took to Facebook on Wednesday to call out Channel 8 in Dallas on their new traffic reporter, who is, as Asha affectionately calls, D. And she said that the woman D looked like she was a size 16 or 18 woman in a size 6 dress. Has anyone seen Channel 8's new morning traffic reporter? Her name is Demetria Abalor, and she's a size 16, 18 woman in a size 6 dress, and she looks ridiculous.
They said, she also went on to say, I understand that when I watch Channel 8, I'm going to get biased reporting and political correctness, but clearly they've taken complete leave of their senses. I'm not going to watch Channel 8 anymore. Well, you know what, Channel 8? You just got 2 new viewers because Miss D, I hope you make it to the Nationals, because I'm trying to holla.
Do you want to hear from Miss D? Because she did post a quick reply to all the haters and supporters.
Okay.
Let's hear from Miss D, who you hope goes national.
Hey, everyone. Okay, so I'm waking up from my Friday nap, right? Apparently to some controversy, but a whole lot of love. The controversy is coming from people who aren't too happy with the way that I look on television, saying, oh, her body is too big for that dress, or she's too curvy, or her hair is unprofessional. It's crazy. We don't like it. A quick word to those people. This is the way that I'm built. This is the way that I was born. I'm not going anywhere. So if you don't like it, you have your options. Now, to the people who show love, I love you right back. You know, when you look a little different, people think it's okay to talk to you a little different. And I'm on TV. I can't clap back how I want to clap back all the time. So I'm always taken aback and forever grateful for everybody, people I don't even know, who come to my defense, stand next to me and say, you know what, Demetria, you don't have to put up with this. And I love you for that. Shout out to Chance the Rapper for taking this right to his Twitter page and putting a spotlight on the negativity, because we don't have to put up with this, all right? And we're not going to. So just once again, everybody know that I love you, I appreciate you, and we're in this together.
Getting out my popcorn.
Man, her voice is as sweet as those hips.
I have no comment.
No, but you know what? She brought up a really good comment that, you know, when you look different, people speak to you different, and they take certain liberties with you, because I guarantee that had this been a comment that was made to a non-woman of color, you would see a groundswell of support for anti-body shaming type conversation, you know, in the ether. And I think the fact that somebody would be that brave to talk about someone of color on television in that type of a manner is, you know, I just think it is what it is. It's reflective of our society. But the positive thing about social media that really makes me like this a lot is that despite all the evils that social media can project, this is a symbol of something positive.
Yeah, no, I agree. And for, you know, the underdogs out there, her message was, I think, real, but also where the focus needs to be. So she addressed some of the hate, but also took time to really take in and was grateful for the support too. Mm-hmm. And I think as we're out there fighting whatever struggles we're fighting where we feel like the odds are against us, it's okay to acknowledge that things aren't necessarily how we like them, but really also taking the fact that you have people in your corner.
Mm-hmm.
And she does. And she has 2 supporters here, too.
And if any of my ladies out there need help ever clapping back, I'm on the radio, but so, you know, I don't have the same parameters as TV hosts do. So just let us know. Comment, call in. If you need some clapbacks, I got you, boo.
Yes, let us know. And you can also weave it into your stand-up, too.
Yes, yeah.
You can get them on a lot of different fronts.
Yeah.
With that, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we talked a little bit about millennials and age and stuff like that. But our next story has to do with things that happened back during that time of the 70s and 80s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were around then.
No, I was not around in the 70s, my friend.
No, but I said the 70s and 80s.
It was just a tot, just a wee lad.
People don't know what that is.
Just a tater tot.
More of the Gregory Nesmith Show after this break. Welcome back to the Gregory Nesmith Show, where we get personal about the news and the culture. We just finished talking about like or unlike, a couple stories going on that might have showed up in your timeline recently.
And shout out to our Facebook Live listeners. Our last story we were just talking about was about the gorgeous television reporter, Miss D, Demetria. And Keon, thanks for listening, has responded and said, oh, yes, she is gorgeous. And we all agree with you.
Yes, I think I know that if Keon had to choose between like, get out your popcorn or block it, he's getting out his popcorn.
I think he's going to do more than the popcorn.
I'm not going to go there.
I
but
like
he's going to at least
it.
get in the popcorn out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that, it's time for Unlisted.
Mm-hmm.
And where we find a list that's out there that we want to debate or embrace or a little bit of both. This one is special because it's a list related to things that happened for folks who were born during a certain time period. And the reason why I picked that is because guess what happens this month?
What?
It's my birthday.
Oh, go shorty. It's your birthday. We're going to party like it's your birthday. Sip a party like it's... Okay.
Birthday, November 22nd, so it's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And also, speaking of birthdays or anniversaries, this is the anniversary month of the show. We turned 1 this month.
Yay!
Yeah, so in that spirit, I figured we'd do an Unlisted that has to do with time and when people were born. So I found this article from the verysmartbrothers.com, and it was called 10 Cringeworthy Things Every Black Person Born Between 1975 and 1985 Did in Their Teens and 20s. Right.
Oh, dear.
Yes.
Don't remind me.
Yes. Now, would you fall into that at all or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, no. I wasn't in my teens or 20s in the 80s.
But were you born between 75 and 85?
Yes, 84.
Okay, so this is going to, maybe some of these may end up applying to you.
Yes.
So I'm not going to read all 10. They had 10, but I picked a couple that caught my attention. So Unlisted, 10 cringeworthy things every black person born between 1975 and 1985 did in their teens and 20s, ranked from verysmartbrothers.com, an article that was shared over 50-something thousand times. So a lot of folks have been talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
So number 8.
Yep.
Either had sex with Timberlands and socks still on, or had sex with someone with Timberlands and socks still on.
Are you sure this isn't uninhibited right now?
It's getting us in the,
check mark on this.
Did the Very Smart Brothers hit on something with that one with number 8?
I would definitely have to go ahead and say you got me on that one.
Did they get you on the former or the latter piece?
I'm going to go ahead and say they got me on both counts, son.
Fair enough.
What about you?
They got me on the Former.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think he was with any of them gangster girls like me.
I had to reread and make sure I said the right one. And they got me on the former piece of it. All right. Number 7.
Yeah.
Believed he or she was the only black person who watched and appreciated Seinfeld.
Now, you know what? I had a lot of black friends and my dad, and it was a bonding thing with me and my dad. So I never thought I was the only black person, but whenever I met another black person who also liked Seinfeld, it was immediate bonding. Like, we were immediate friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually didn't really get into Seinfeld until it was in syndication. So I didn't watch it when it was like in prime time.
Yeah.
But I did eventually come to appreciate it. So by that point, I knew that other people had liked it.
Oh, Thursdays at 9:00 were appointment viewing with me and my dad in Seinfeld. It was like a thing.
Yeah, for me it was 8 to 9, which was Cosby's In Different World. And then I don't know what I watched once 9 o'clock came.
Yeah.
So, all right.
You were in bed.
10 cringeworthy things that every black person born between 75 and 85 did in their teens and 20s ranked. We did 8. We did number 7. Number 5. You professed aloud a desire to go to Africa. Like Africa was Vegas or an island off the coast of Greenland or the Outback Steakhouse and not a big deal continent with over 50-something countries.
I'm going to go ahead and ask you to answer that one first.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I want to go to Africa. And I would say it like that, almost as if it was like this easy thing to do, not knowing that you need to get certain shots before you go there. I was younger, so I didn't know I needed like this thing called a special passport. I mean, I didn't realize that it was more complicated than just like hopping on a plane.
Yeah, my family put me in Saturday school, so I knew all about Africa as a young child. So I used to say I want to go to Egypt. I had specific countries I wanted to go to. I never said Africa. That used to irk me when people would act like it's not a continent.
Hey, you know, now that I've been able to double back, I no longer double down on going to Africa. There are specific countries, which I'd love to go to Egypt to see the pyramids, South Africa to see like the Mandela Museum, apartheid stuff, and Mandela's house. So yes, now there's actually places I would like to go in Africa.
Yes.
All right. Number 3. Oh, no, number 4. Convinced him or herself.
Sorry. I read ahead.
But the listeners.
I know, that's why I said sorry.
Number 4. I think this one hits home for Asha. Let's see if it hits home for you underdogs out there. Number 4. Convince him or herself that turkey bacon tasted better than bacon.
I did. Well, because I wasn't allowed to. I only ate real bacon for the first time a couple of years ago. So I wasn't allowed to eat pork products or obviously bacon as a child. So I didn't know what real. Now, like, I gorged the first time I had bacon. I ate an entire plate of it. It is turkey bacon is not bacon. It is not.
You cannot convince yourself.
I did. I was convinced for the first 30 years of my life.
And now you've seen the light.
And now I know that it's not.
You're not doubling down on this one.
Turkey bacon is fundamentally not bacon. Now, I can't say that I'll be eating pork for the rest of my life, but I can say that they're not the same.
I mean, I brainwashed myself to believe it, even though I knew it wasn't true, because I just knew that I would eat bacon every day.
Exactly. That's the problem.
So I bought turkey bacon to keep it home, and then I would eat bacon when I would go out.
That's smart.
Yeah, that was how I dealt with it. So yes, I had to convince myself that turkey bacon was at least good enough that I would make it at home.
Yeah.
But no, there's nothing like that.
There's
even people who don't eat meat, who, you know, those people that are like, I don't eat meat, but every now and then I have me some bacon.
Right?
That's how good bacon is. Number 3, you abruptly stopped wearing Tommy Hilfiger, not because it was overpriced yacht toilet paper stamped by Tommy and stretched into polos and Parkers, but because you heard he went on Oprah and said his clothes weren't for black people.
Did he really say that or no?
There was something that happened where I just remember in the culture or like in the buzz was like, don't wear Tommy Hilfiger.
I remember. I definitely remember that. I just never remember if it was ever confirmed that he actually did that, because I never saw the actual episode on Oprah where he said that.
Me neither. And I didn't even know if it was specifically on Oprah, but I do remember just like, it's almost like, you know, like the memo goes out.
Yeah, no, I remember the rumor was don't wear Tommy Hilfiger because he went on Oprah and said it's not for black people. I absolutely remember that. Everybody during this time frame does. I just don't know if it was actually real or not.
Yeah, well.
I had to throw out my Aaliyah, Tommy Hilfiger outfits and all that stuff. I had so much
rest
stuff.
In peace, Aaliyah.
Yeah, so
all
much
right.
stuff.
Number 1 of the top 10 cringeworthy things every black person born between 1975 and 1985 did in their teens and 20s from verysmartbrothers.com. Number 1, you thought online dating was weird and for lames, despite the fact that your Black Planet MySpace page existed solely to thirst and meet people. Had to self-edit that on the fly.
Yeah.
Cat got your tongue?
I'm gonna have to go ahead and say they got me on this one.
The Very Smart Brothers know what they're doing. That unlisted has so far.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that my Black Planet profile name was Sexy Dougla, and it was definitely a thirst trap.
I don't even I'm speechless. What is the story behind the name?
Oh, a Dougla is a Trini word for someone who's half black and half Indian.
Okay.
And so I was a sexy Dougla. Yeah, so people used to call me a Dougla because nobody's going to guess Pakistan, obviously. So I'm just black and Indian. So, yeah, and then definitely MySpace. I used to be a rapper, a singer. So definitely the promo pics were up there.
They were wholesome and...
Absolutely not.
So they got you on this one?
They got me. I definitely know what Mi Gente is. For those who don't, it's the Spanish people's version of Black Planet. I didn't have a profile, but I definitely perused.
I was about to
I'll
say,
tell you that.
Yeah, you sounded real informed.
I definitely perused.
You sounded real informed over there on the...
I went through a phase.
Unlisted is turned into uninhibited.
I know. I'm like, damn. So y'all found out I've had sex with Tim's on.
And
had sex with guys with Tim's
okay.
on.
I just didn't want the statement to be incomplete. That your family was early adopters of Seinfeld.
Yes.
That you knew about Africa by country, not as this place.
Shout out to Saturday School.
Yes, indeed. You finally had bacon.
Recently, yes. And I am obsessed.
You got the memo too about Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know a lot about the internet.
I was an early adopter to Black Planet and MySpace.
I will say, for me personally, that online dating was weird at first. I remember growing up that the places where people actually tried to meet other people were like personal ads in newspapers.
Ew.
Exactly. And those were for what we deemed as like weirdos. And I remember growing up, we used to say, if life ever gets that bad, that we got to put out a personal ad in a newspaper, something's going wrong. So when the internet first started with online dating, to me, I was like, it's just another version of like personal ads in the paper. Like, this stuff is whack. Like, I don't want to be on that. And then I started seeing other friends, people I knew, and I'm like, oh, they're not weird, so maybe I can try this thing out. So yeah, I don't think I had a Black Planet, but I think briefly I had a MySpace. I was a late adopter on the internet stuff. I didn't have email until sophomore year of college.
Yikes.
Yeah. So wasn't an early adopter.
Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. With that, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with a big finish to the show.
Oh.
More of the Gregory Nesmith Show after this break. Welcome back to the Gregory Nesmith Show, where we get personal about the news and the culture. Shout out to Asha Davis.
Hi.
In the building.
Yeah, you found out a lot of info about me last segment.
Yes, indeed. We just did a little uninhibited with you.
No, unlisted. That doesn't get you out of the weeds for uninhibited later in the show. We've only got about 10 minutes left, so.
Oh, that's new news. I thought that was like unlisted / uninhibited.
Okay, we have 9 minutes left. What else?
Today's episode is Double Back and Double Down.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me to thinking, if I double back to a year ago, the Gregory Nesmith Show started. And the question is, was it a good idea or not?
Wow. Yeah, what do you think?
I think it was.
I feel like we should ask our listeners.
Yes, we should. Underdogs, my people, and occasional Trump supporters, what are your thoughts on, as you take a look back at the show, was it a good idea to start or not? Now, this month is the 1-year anniversary of the show. And literally, it's still hard to believe that at this point last year, on November 5th of 2016, it didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
We launched on November 8th, which turned into November 9th because the show used to be at midnight.
Oh, yes. And the first show was the election night show.
Yes. So literally the election is happening and unfolding. And literally when we got off the air at 2 a.m., we had just found out that Donald Trump was reportedly going to win Pennsylvania, which meant he was going to win the election.
Yes. Your home state. How apropos.
Don't remind me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that show was special too because we were both on that show. I was in the studio and you called in.
Yes, I did.
And then from then on out, you would be in studio. And so one of the things we want to do this month is every Thursday, in the spirit of Throwback Thursday, we are going to re-release the first few episodes of the Gregory Nesmith Show. So starting this Thursday, episode 1 will come out. Then the following Thursday, episode 2, episode 3. So we'll all get to, maybe unfortunately or fortunately, relive the Gregory Nesmith Show, but also relive some of how we were feeling, how you guys were feeling about the election and what was going on in the news and the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So be on the lookout for that. Also, I want to just say thank you to Asha Davis.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, for getting on board of a project that obviously didn't exist. Didn't know what was it going to be, how it was going to look. And also it was very late at night, too, on top of that.
I remember.
So I appreciate you. And I guess the question to you would be, as you double back, would you double down or no as being part of the show?
Definitely. I definitely think that being a part of the show has added value to my life. I enjoy definitely those late night shows. It's just fun stories. It's funny things to even just remember. You know, it's certainly can be can evolve into a different show when you're on air from midnight to 2 a.m. on Tuesday night. So we had some good times, and I quite like this Sunday time slot too. You know.
Yes, we've been very blessed to have both the late night spot and then now a very good time of 2 hours on Sunday, which is awesome. And I'm also grateful for you, for Kirsten Magwood, and for all the underdogs that have been going on this journey with us. Both those who publicly call in and watch the show and then give Facebook Live comments, but also folks who've sent me emails or text messages. I appreciate all the underdogs out there.
And shout out to Keon, who just posted, I used to watch the night show as well. I gonna paraphrase and say I mess with y'all. LOL. Keep it up.
Hey,
this is going places.
Hey, I can't, Keon, I can't see the screen while I'm right now, but Asha can. I think I know what word you said, and right back at you. Appreciate you a lot. And yes, we all gonna keep on what we do, and fighting for underdogs to rediscover how special we are.
He said that we also make good co-hosts.
Yes, we do. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Makes the dream work. Hey, fake high five. No!
Real one. So with that, this whole month, we'll find some time within every show to make sure we acknowledge each other and what we've done in a year.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, let's get to the big finish. Uninhibited. New rules and goodbyes.
Nice. So, Uninhibited's question, we've been talking a lot about doubling back and doubling down and a lot of double the troubles, and today double dutching, yeah. So speaking of doubles tennis, I'd like to.
I didn't know we were speaking about doubles tennis.
It's another double, McDoubles.
I love tennis. It's my second favorite sport to play.
Yep. So speaking of doubles sports, what I'd like to know is this is a two-parter. I know we only have 3 minutes left. So, number one, have you ever fantasized about having double the trouble in the boudoir? And number two, have you ever had double the trouble in the boudoir? Have you ever had a double team is really the question.
Have I thought about it?
Yes.
Yes. C. Trace. And has it happened? No.
Why not?
There was one time where it seemed like a possibility. I'm in college. One friend comes over. Then the other friend comes over. Chilling on the couch in my dorm room. I'm kind of laying across in a way that all three of us are touching each other. Still fully clothed at this point.
Yeah.
And then I got nervous.
You got nervous in what capacity?
From the standpoint of, I was like, in my head, it was almost as if I was watching myself, watch myself. And I was like, is this really happening?
So you were watching yourself, watching yourself.
Because in my head, I'm just like, could this be? And then I'm kind of dating the one, the other one's the friend. And part of me didn't want to like say something where it's like, seemed inappropriate. I didn't want to get those. Like, I was overthinking it when, as I doubled back, I should have looked at the signs of like, we're in my dorm room. We're all kind of in a situation where it looks like we're very comfortable at this point. And basically, I froze up.
So how did it end?
Eventually, like, it was time to like get ready to go out to like a party that night. And eventually, one friend left, and eventually we all ended up leaving to go to the party. And I always think back to that was me probably overthinking things. And an actual weird thing that I'm about to say, a lesson that I learned from that, I think we can all learn from, which is I could have said something or attempted something, and if it didn't work out, know that I could clean it up too, right? Like if it turns out we would have talked it all out. And so I wish I would have leaned in. And I didn't.
You wish you would have leaned into a double team situation.
I wish I would have leaned into the possibilities of what could have happened that night.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your candid, uninhibited answer, sir.
Yeah, and it reminds me of when we had the glamour sign on, which is like we all get to talk about our sexual desires, wants and needs, things like that, and oftentimes talk about them before situations come up. So, I don't know. I froze up.
Okay, Mr. Freeze. Hopefully not next time.
No, but I didn't freeze up. A year ago, we started the show, and now it's a year old. And so with that, I end with the new rules that we learned from today's show, which is double back. But double back to get new perspective. Be open to learning something new this time instead of what you may have already thought from a past situation. And then lastly, go after your dreams. We've been going after the Gregory Nesmith Show. Asha's been going after her dreams of comedy and being a stand-up comic and a writer. She's going to be on Saturday Night Live and so much more as the years go on. And so I'm happy that we've done this show for a year, and I'm also happy to see you doing your things too. So underdogs out there, keep doing your dreams and go after them. Because, as it says in The Alchemist, no heart ever fears going after its dreams. Even if you don't get there, what ends up hurting the most is the regret of never trying.
Exactly, and learn from Gregory in our uninhibited question.
Yeah.
And even when you're nervous, just lean in.
Lean in.
Keon says, don't worry, homie. It happens.
Appreciate that I'm not the only one. So with that, shout out to Keon and all the underdogs and my people who are listening today. We appreciate you. Shout out for the folks who listen to the podcast. We're still in the top 100 in society and culture on Podomatic, and you can listen to the you can download the podcast on iTunes, Podomatic, Google Play, Stitcher, and on YouTube. You can watch it too. And as always, I leave you with my favorite quote: underdogs, can't nobody do it like you do it. Nobody. Peace.